Welcome back to Exploring Distant Worlds. Agenda for this episode is to continue exploiting the Kerbis system. We are going to have a couple of new station types, so we're going to want to learn and design to get into that. I want to do a deep dive on the research system, get some more detail on that, and also we need to keep exploring. Our dire impulse is off to a new and unknown star system, but it will take some time at current warp speeds to get there. Before that, though, there were a couple of questions and comments that were raised. One regarding our recently acquired scientist, Randall Nasuri, who is quite outstanding because of the Ultra Genius. Regardless of where Nasuri is deployed, he will increase our entire research output by 20%. So that's going to be a big accelerator for us. We're really getting quite ridiculous luck on our starting characters here. And energetic is also a nice trait to have as well. Has a weapons research bonus, as we did note. And then Makasari, though, I'm going to keep as our currently assigned scientist at the spaceport because the combination of weapons and energy is going to be a little bit better on those particular skill bonuses. And then we will assign our ship captain, Leban Saksul, to one of our recently acquired derelicts. Now, as regards the AI designs, they're starting to move into some warp designs, but they don't quite all the way there yet. You may remember that our surveyors have almost a 2-sector range. And compared to their Pathfinder, well, just over half a sector. They've made it much smaller, is one situation. And then they've also added more thrusters. They seem to have wanted to stick with a higher cruise speed than I think we need. So between those two, I'll definitely take our further range because that's fewer refueling trips. But they definitely went in a much bigger direction, and one that, frankly, is not really quite as good. So we are now working on the repair of our frigate that was almost destroyed in the battle against the Kaltors. And we're going to go ahead and stop you. Of course, the rest of the fleet heading back to port. But just stopping them from moving, I said stop. Thank you. Stopping them from moving as we get reminded to do the repair can make it a lot easier for the construction ship to catch them and do what it needs to do. Oh, yay. Wrong path while we're searching proximity sensor, so we have lost progress on that. So that's not a whole lot of fun. But I think we did sort of got in there. We got some other updates. We've got an advance for Zatara, increasing population growth. We've also finished our shields research. All right, so now let's take a longer look here. We are eventually going to want to apply those shields to some of our designs. But if we look at our proximity sensors, yeah, it's down back to almost nothing. So that will take longer to acquire. I want to do a little bit more further ahead planning with the research here, and also get into some of the details of the feature. The ship design is really the only feature that we've really gone deep into, and I want to get into some of the more detail now that we've got some legs on the series. So most of the research that we've been doing has been of types that are connected by these gray arrows, which are simple, very basic prerequisites. If you have ground combat, you can get any of these three. You know, if you have improved assault, you can get battlefield sabotage, etc. It's just a direct line. But the red ones here, those occur when you have more than one prerequisite for something. So we can't currently get superior defense tactics. It's one of the ghosted ones. We have to get both of these because one of them isn't enough. And then if we select that and try to, trick the system by canceling one of these, well, that goes back to being ghosted as well and is unselected. So you really can't get away with that kind of chicanery. But if we have some of these other lines that are dotted red lines, those are for when one subcategory, if you will, is a prerequisite for another. For example, up here, enhanced missiles are required for missile bombers, even though enhanced missiles aren't really part of the strike craft, track of research. Or you can see over here, we have tactical interceptors much later on are required for heavy ship assault. Those types of things. There's some various crossing over that happens. Torpedoes into torpedo bombers, etc. So that's what all of that means. And that sort of covers what all of the different arrows require. Now, we just had a research setback, but the opposite can also happen where you get a tech that accelerates. And that's a crash program. Now, it wouldn't be worth much in this particular case. We see area weapons is almost done. If we double click on anything that we're researching, then we can triple the research speed, which is what the crash program does. This only costs us 1,000, but we're almost there. If you try to do it on another one, like say energy collection, that has got a lot longer to go, then the price is almost 30,000. And I'm not going to be spending a lot of time doing this, although I will in some cases. But it's worth knowing that it is there as a possibility. And then going forward, okay, what do we want to research now? Well, I'm going to jump in, and we're going to be getting the enhanced missiles, and then we'll get the railguns. I do want to get into these ground combat techs eventually as well. I'm going to go with the defense tactics first, and then the assault tactics. And these are a bonus. You can see 25%, but notice it only says newly recruited infantry. The couple of garrison ones I have already, it wouldn't apply to those. So I want to get these before I do a bunch more ground troop recruitment in the future. And then the logistics, reducing the cost of maintenance for all of them. And so that sort of basically takes care of the current tier. And switching on to energy collection, here we're going to be finishing that. I do want to get the enhanced maneuvering. This will double the effectiveness here, because they normally have size 2 and thrust 3, and then size 2 and thrust 6 for the same amount of energy. So not hugely important, the directional thrusters, but that's a nice boost. I'm not a big fan of the proton thrusters. If you see that size 7 versus size 6, you know, the thrust to size ratio, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but is not as good for the proton thrusters. Now, if we go up further, and this is a pretty common element that happens in research, you get your first research of a particular tech, and then it's not that great, but then if you go up to the next one, it becomes much more worth it. Here you can see the same size 7, but 670 compared to 560 thrust. But I don't want to spend the time to go through this much research to get somewhat better engines at the moment. And then same thing up here, you know, we talked about not wanting the nuclear fission reactor, but this is a much better upgrade, the improved fission reactor, as compared to what we would get here, which is just slightly better energy to cost, or energy to size rather, than what we've currently got already with the basic space reactor. I do want to jump next at this point into what is really, in my opinion, the last key gatekeeper tech at the start of the game, which is the hyperdrive tech, the upgrade to our current warp drives, the Garrex hyperdrive. And this is, as we mentioned before, 6 times the speed of our starting one. But just to give you an idea how much that really means, the fastest hyperdrive in the game is almost, but not quite, 3 times as fast as this. At this point, it becomes more of a flatter slope of improvement, and we'll be able to compete better with other factions by having that in place. And then once we have that, and the next construction boost, which I'm also going to want to get after that, that will really give us the ability to form a competitive military fleet, and we can move more quickly into that direction. But until then, we're going to hold off on being particularly focused on that. Okay, so we need to finish proximity sensors, countermeasures, target tracking. I'm going to get our better sensors here after that. And then I'm not sure when I'm going to want to do colonization. It could be quite a while. Depends on what's out there. You can expand peacefully, or you can expand not peacefully, and I'm not sure which way that's going to go. But this is a quite expensive one, so I'm going to wait to explore a little more before I decide where that's going to fit into our research plan. And then I also want to talk more about the bonuses over here and the research element, because we do need to build a station to get a job for Nasuri, and we can see their bonus listed. But the way all of these down here, the weapons and the energy, and if we had one, the high tech will be listed. And you may have noticed that Makassari actually has a minus 2% to high tech and industrial, but it's not even shown here. And the reason for that is you get the largest boost that's available in your empire at any time, the best one, from a combination of scientists and location. And so actually the highest one we can get for high tech and industrial is 0, because -2 would be worse than 0. But let's say, for example, we don't have any location bonuses yet. But say we had one situation where we had a 10% location and a 10% scientist. That would give us 20%, and that would supersede this 14% that we currently have. But what would not happen is we wouldn't be able to add them together. Like, it wouldn't be a situation where, okay, I've got a 20 and a 14, so that makes 34. You only get the single highest, and it's the combination of the scientist and the location in a particular spot. And that's important to know as you're moving around your scientists and building research stations. So now we need to do some more designs, get a couple more of these bases going, and also get shields on all of our relevant items. I'm skipping the military ships for now. I did add a shield to our construction ship. Not really a big deal there, given that they don't have a size limit. And now we're going to add one to our surveyor, which is going to cost us some in terms of range. You can see these have a size of 10, so there's a significant size investment to them. They require helium, gold, and lead, strength of 100, and they've got a recharge rate as well for our entry-level Corvidian shields. Add one of those, and we're too big. To get that back in line, I'm going to knock off a couple of fuel cells, keeping all of my performance characteristics as they are. And now we're down to just under 1.7 sectors. So we did add the protection. Now, why build a shield on a ship that's going to run away when it sights the enemy anyway? Well, it still helps with survivability. And the other thing is, between using the shields and using the armor, how much of each? There's a lot of considerations that go into that. I like to use about a third to a half as many shields as I do armor, which when you consider that the armor is only a size of 1 and the shields are a size of 10, I'm still leaning my size investment heavily in favor of the shields. But for example, enemies like the space creatures, like the giant Kaltors, they're going to totally bypass your shields entirely. Armor will be the only thing that protects against them. Some weapon types can bypass shields or armor. You could base it on, what kind of weapons the current enemy that you're fighting has. You could base it on elements like, what type of resources do I have available? Because if I have a lot of steel, but not the other resources for whatever reason, I might want to get more armor. Very much debatable what the right balance is, but that's kind of where I like to stick with it. Emphasizing shields, but not excessively so. If we go ahead and switch over then to our spaceports, because I'm definitely going to want to add some on there. And we have, I believe it was 25 armor. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and put 10 shields on these. And then that's going to require us to add more Hab and Life. But that's pretty much all of the revisions, and now we need to get into the new bases. Here is our design for a resort base, which these are basically what you'd expect them to be for. They're luxurious bases where the more well-off Akuros can go and unwind and pay significant amounts of credits for the privilege, some of which we get a slice of via our commerce center. And of course, we need a recreational center to provide for all of their time-wasting needs, and also the passenger compartment, which is going to house them. This houses 1.2 million. That's a lot of people. I wonder how they managed to fit that into that size of a component. But regardless of all that, that is where they are. And we are going to only deliver 20K at a time. So it takes 60 trips to fill this up. We'll want to add more later, possibly, but that's a ways down the road. Now, they do suggest adding cargo, and I do agree with that, because what will tend to happen is you won't be able to upgrade them later. They won't have anywhere to store the materials and components they need to do the upgrading. So putting one of those on, definitely a good idea. But otherwise, this should work for the time being. And both the resort base and the research base we're about to design, they have to be built at specific locations to be effective, which we'll get to. Now, on the research base, they list them as 3 different types, but I like to do them as all in one. So I'm just going to grab the energy one, and we will just very descriptively call this a research station. These don't have a huge amount of required components, don't need commerce center, don't need any recreation, etc. But we will throw on the various usual requirements. And one of each lab. And the reason why I like to do them as all in one is, particularly early in the game, you can have a situation where you've got a scientist that might be your best in 2 different categories. And if you want to get both of their bonuses from the same location, then you've got to have each type of lab available. And this way it's not like, oh, I built this kind of lab there, but I wanted that kind. I like putting one of each on there. and then you're prepared for all eventualities. Once again, for upgrade purposes, I'm going to have a cargo bay, even though it's not in our recommended list, and a docking bay, and a fuel cell. And as before, I like to have 10 armor and 5 shields on all of my bases. And we don't have any energy collector components just yet, so that should suffice for what we're going to need. Now let's progress on and try to put some of all this into action. Oh yes, we must always re-up our happy protection arrangement. You can see the civilians having their warp capability, flitting all over the system. Ooh, the Ancient Guardians have offered a secret warning. Now, let's just take a quick look at the Ancient Guardians here, and we'll get into all of these various characteristics. But for now, let's just suffice to say, okay, they've got 11 billion people. They have a military strength of 1,000, strategic value, you can see the GDP, etc. Now, compare all of those facts to us. The point here is we are excessively wimpy compared to them. About a third of their population. The other comparisons are much worse. So it isn't advisable for us to aggravate the Ancient Guardians. And they have a very special role to play. So let's take a look. An important warning that you need to hear. Yes, you definitely have our full attention. Please be nice. Please don't kill us. And I'm not a big fan of this background with the sort of white on white. It can be very difficult to read. But the Mechanoid share important warning. The Dark Ones of ancient times long to return. They seek a pathway back to dominate overall. Beware of unknown monuments and beacons that light the way. Be prepared for the revenge of the destroyers. Well, that's cryptic. We'll see how all that transpires going forward. Okay, area weapons. And the nice thing about having a few research items queued up now is we can just kind of ignore those as we go through. Retrofitting Frigate has completed. But you know what? Let's just check and see how we're doing with our construction ships. You are... okay, you're currently in the process of retrofitting, I believe. Yep, so we're going to have to wait for you to finish. And then we'll give you orders to retrofit to the new design. But I didn't actually start, so I want to start that now. Just to get it done, let's have our spaceport upgrade with its shields. And right now we just want to get some of our construction ships clear so they can do new tasks. Okay, the Kerbis Dawn is now finished. There we go. So now, if you would be so kind, retrofit to the next design. Worthy Subterfuge. You are over here. Okay. You can retrofit as well. Our spaceport is finished. Let's come out here a bit and see how our exploration ship is. Looks like it's just approaching here. The Dire Impulse approaching our unknown star. So it warps in around the star itself. And we can see, okay, we've got a couple of different planets available. Oh, Kerbis Pride has finished its mission. So let's have you do the same thing, actually. Retrofit to latest design. So they're going to basically move around, and if it's fairly close, they will just move on conventional drives, or they will turn and warp across the system. And all kinds of updates are coming our way. Okay, you require refueling because we've probably finished your task. Alright, why don't we have you refuel? And then, let's see, Conspicuous Rover, you are going to retrofit as well. And we need to give you a new task, which is going to be to come right down here, because this has Krypton, Tidarios, and Helium. So this is our last, really, location that I want to put up a standard base, in this case, a gas mining station. to get more resources out of Kerbis of important new kinds that we don't have yet. The rest of the system is of marginal use. We have plenty of steel and fuel coming in, so I'm not hugely concerned about them at the moment. Let's pop back out and see how we're doing here. Okay, so you finished taking a look at this planet. And you're coming over here to this one. And then you've now finished that. Now you're going somewhere else. They want you to head... Okay, yeah, warps right out this way. Why is it actually doing that? Well, it's trying to get all of the various asteroids. If we zoom in on this point, see there's one there. And it's going to do that before it declares this system complete. Now, I want to give some of my construction ships some orders. But the reason is that we're just doing it this way, as opposed to just have you go explore wherever. If there are systems that have ruins, and there will be some, the exploration ships are particularly bad at finding those. What they'll end up doing is they won't get close enough to the planets, and they'll simply, bypass the ruins. They won't explore them all. Sometimes they'll get them, but a lot of times they won't. And so that's one of the reasons why I just do it from system to system, and then, you want to check each system when they report that they're done, and make sure that there's nothing that they haven't fully encountered. Okay, so we have one ship that is ready now. It's a Mark V, and we've already got another one sent out. So now we're going to look at where we build all of those research and resort bases. And I'm going to definitely focus on research first, and then the resorts, but they're down here. So research locations, resort locations, we can see the various ones that are available. Better scenery bonus, the better bonus income we're going to get from those particular resort spots. In terms of research, there is one. And that is also at Kerbis 11. And we'll get an energy bonus there. And if I had to pick one category to get a bonus in, it would definitely be energy. So we will simply build here a resort base. Nope, that's wrong. We're going to build the research station, not the resort base. There we go. Okay. So, and I can always retrofit my exploration ships later once they come back in. But what I do want to do is actually build a couple more and get them out there of the new types, of course. Solemn Chance and Cryptic Memory. Okay. And just get some more ships out there doing their job. Of course, we're still flitting about the system here in the Slippery Prize. There's its latest hop, as it's also trying to grab all the asteroids in this system before it pronounces things complete. Okay, the Dire Impulse has finished its task. So, it says we're all done here, and we definitely know that there's no ruins, because we'd see those little triangle icons. There you see they've got the one independent mining ship that's trying to survey. So this has Aculon and Tandium Opal, which we don't have yet. So we have some Aculon, but that would be worth considering as a possible mining location. But over here, we've got steel and gold. Not that exciting for us right now. Not in huge enough amounts to be particularly compelling. And coming out here for just the one station, I'm not convinced of that yet. We may want to do that in the future, but I'm not going to consider it at this point. I'm going to skip this one because the pirates having a base there, they will almost certainly have claimed everything. And just move on here. Okay, and we have also encountered a new empire, the Venomous Confederacy. Okay, well, let's see about them. Looks like they're a pretty standard pirate group. Well, that's a little bit more than I'd like, but I will definitely take the payment as opposed to the alternative. Again, I'm going to keep paying off the pirates until we get to the better warp drive and better ships, and then we can really start fighting back against them. That will be coming. We are just not quite to that point yet. Where are we going to be going from here? Well, we're definitely going to want to keep the exploring process, get those new exploration ships out, get them moving. I want to, once we've gotten our research base up over here, I will be assigning our new scientists to that. And then we're going to be building the resort bases. But from here on out, it's really going to be for a while just researching hard towards the Gearix warp drive. And then also looking at, what can we explore? What are we going to find out about this area around us? Just the few sectors around us, as much of this as we can explore in what's going to be several years until we actually get our better warp drives, and then everything opens up. But the early warp phase of Distant Worlds will continue. As always, any suggestions, any comments, what do you think about the shields and the armor balance? How much do you like to use? Any other comments on the design that I'm using, please let me know. And otherwise, Distant Worlds will return. Thanks for watching. And if you want to see more of this, subscribe and click the bell icon so that YouTube will let you know when the next upload comes.